Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman, and thank you so much to all of our witnesses for being here today. It's been a very informative hearing. I appreciate it. First, I wanted to start by telling Ms. Antie, I had to go to a meeting during your testimony, but I have read your testimony, and you said you were just a mom. That's a very important job, so thank you so much for bringing your story. And I serve not only on the Science, Space, and Technology Committee, but I also serve on the Education and Workforce Committee. I don't take off my education hat when I come here. Also don't take off my science hat when I go there. So I'm looking at this from both perspectives, and I just want to say, Mr. Brooks, I have many times questioned whether our national overemphasis on standardized tests is inhibiting creativity, and you certainly answered that question for me. I've had a lot of meetings in my wonderful district in Oregon with some of our Decoding Dyslexia Oregon parents, and they, along with all of you, understand that there have been so many advancements in research, in technology. I'm just look at the Intel Reader, for example. There have been a lot of things that have been done. We find here in the Capitol that oftentimes the technology is ahead of the policy, right? And so I wonder if you could, I'll start with Dr. Shaywitz, if you could talk a little bit, you mentioned evidence-based programs, so important. So I'd like you to focus on what are some of the evidence-based programs, and then also I want to have time to talk about the early indicators. And Mr. Brooks, you got great applause to your suggestion that there be the mandatory recognition training for teacher certification, but there's a lot of teachers who are already teaching. We need to get to them as well as to the new teachers. So Dr. Shaywitz, could you please talk about what are some of the evidence-based practices that we should be promoting?
Thank you. I'm happy to do that. But I think first it's important to differentiate evidence-based from research-based. We often hear people saying this program is research-based. Research-based, evidence-based means that there's proven efficacy. Research-based simply indicates there are theoretical suggestions, but does not provide evidence that the program is indeed effective. Evidence-based programs are akin to the level of evidence the FDA requires before a medication can be approved for use. Many, many theoretical research-based approaches, when tested in the field, prove to be ineffective.
Right.
Our children's reading is too important to be left to theoretical but unproven practices and methods. We must replace anecdotal and common but not evidence-based practices with those that are proven, that is, they are evidence-based. And that goes for programs to teach children to read, for programs for professional development, and programs that colleges of education use when they're teaching future teachers. So there are a number of evidence-based programs, and they have in common that they reflect the knowledge we know about reading. Right. That they go back to teaching children about spoken words, about pulling the words apart, attaching them to the letters. In 1998, Congress became very concerned that there seemed to be an epidemic of reading problems and mandated that a national reading panel be constituted to investigate what methods and approaches have evidence. I was honored to serve on that panel, and that came out with the report of the National Reading Panel, which indicated that the components that are necessary, and they include not only phonemic awareness and phonics, but also vocabulary, fluency, and comprehension.
That's great. And I'm going to have time to talk about accommodations a bit, but obviously we've heard today and we know that not every child who has dyslexia has involved parents who can dedicate the time and have the ability to advocate for them, like we've heard about today, some of these great examples. We think about the lost potential. So not every child can even get to a pediatrician, sadly. So I'm a big fan of school-based health clinics, but we have to make sure that we're doing something so that our teachers can play this critical role as early as possible in that diagnosis. So can we talk about accommodations? I'm concerned about both for standardized testing and for example, college admissions that may require a second language. I was interested to hear that Representative Brownley's daughter is trilingual, which I think is a huge accomplishment for someone with dyslexia. So are we doing enough in accommodation? Doctors Eden or Dr. Shaywitz or anybody?
Well, I'm sorry? Yeah. Well, I think that people often misunderstand the role of accommodations. They may say, oh, that's a perk. And it's not a perk. In my experience, so many students that I say, you need this or that. Oh, no, I'm so afraid if I have accommodations, I'll stand out. People will either think I'm not so smart or I'm gaming the system. In truth, dyslexic people often can learn to read fairly accurately, but they don't read automatically or fluently. So it becomes very effortful. And they have the knowledge, but they don't have the time. And so one of the most important accommodations is the provision of extra time. And both on standardized tests and regular tests, but you have to make sure that they're given in a way that doesn't embarrass the student. So, oh, Johnny, you're going to stay because you need more time. And the individual could just die of embarrassment. So there are a number of accommodations, extra time, in a quiet room, because when you're not reading fluently or automatically, you're using up all your attention, so you can be easily distracted. We also know that dyslexia causes difficulties with word retrieval. You know what you want to say, but your lips and mouth don't form the words. So you can be asked, what is that? And it's a volcano, but the child will say tornado. So teachers have to know that children who have word retrieval difficulties maybe shouldn't be given oral exams, particularly in front of others. And technology can be helpful as well. But right now, and I'm very involved in this area, students for high-stakes tests, if they requested from a testing agency, they are made to go through obstacle after obstacle after obstacle after obstacle. And so many give up. I know a brilliant woman who wanted to go to law school, but she kept getting rejected for accommodation. She didn't go. We're missing out on potential.
Lost potential. And my time has expired. I yield back.
Mine has.
Thank you, Ms. Bonamici.